Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into an interview with Dr. Jordan Peterson
Oh, yeah.
from the Jay Shetty podcast.
hmm
And it gets intense. It's talking to a lot of things, but we really focused on
Yeah.
how to find meaning and purpose
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
that's full of manipulators,
Right. And especially in our online world.
especially online.
Yeah.
And he uses this term dark tetrad.
It is a little bit ominous.
It is a little bit ominous.
It refers to actually 4 personality traits.
Okay.
Narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sadism.
Like if you had all 4 of those,
Right.
you would
That's like the recipe for a really,
not somebody you want
yeah, not somebody you want to be friends
to
with.
invite over for dinner.
Exactly.
So how do those play out online?
Well, Peterson argues that social media and the internet really offer this unique environment for these traits to thrive.
Okay.
Because of the anonymity, if you can hide behind a screen name, it's easier to be manipulative, to be aggressive, to be cruel,
Right.
and not really face any consequences for your actions.
So how do we combat that?
Well, he has some pretty radical ideas.
Yeah.
One is that social media should have a payment barrier.
Okay.
Even if it's just a small amount you have to pay to have an account,
Okay.
because that would at least reduce the number of accounts people could have just for malicious purposes.
Right.
And so it would weed some of that out.
What about for people that, really rely on it to connect
Yeah.
for communication or who can't afford it?
Right. And that is a trade-off that he acknowledges.
Yeah.
There's a balancing act there.
Yeah.
He also suggests separating verified accounts from anonymous accounts.
Okay.
So if you want to, you can engage in a conversation with someone who's verified and you know who they are,
Right.
or you can go into
The Wild West.
the Wild West.
Yeah.
That anonymous comment section, which is
Yeah, like a dark alley.
like a dark alley, exactly.
Yeah. So how do we spot these people online?
The manipulators.
The manipulators, yeah, the dark tetrad.
Yeah. So he has some red flags that he points out.
Okay.
For example, anonymous accounts with names that are what he calls demonic.
Okay.
So overly aggressive or intimidating.
Like I'm gonna get you kind of.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Excessive use of internet slang or abbreviations.
Okay.
A consistently derisive tone, always putting people down, always being sarcastic and mocking.
Right.
These can be signs that someone is trying to manipulate you or provoke a reaction.
And he's really concerned about
Yeah.
these people online and their effect on women.
Yes. Especially, he talks about how dark tetrad males often target women.
Okay.
And because they often mimic confidence and competence, they can be very alluring,
Right.
particularly in that kind of superficial world of online dating.
Right. It's like a predator camouflaging themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very apt analogy.
So it's really important to be aware of that
Yeah.
and to see through the facade.
Exactly. And to be discerning and to recognize the potential dangers of these seemingly charming personalities.
So that's all like really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what he says about finding meaning and purpose
Right.
in all of this.
Yeah, that's a great question. And he does address that directly. He believes that while there is a dark side to human nature,
Mm-hmm.
we also have this incredible capacity for good
Okay.
and a deep desire to find meaning in life. And he calls that the call to adventure.
The call to adventure?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So this is that force that we all feel at some point in our lives,
Okay.
that pull towards something greater than ourselves, a desire to grow and contribute to the world in a meaningful way.
Mm.
And he believes this is actually fundamental to our well-being. It's as essential as food and shelter.
I feel like I've definitely experienced that pull,
Yeah,
but it's hard to know what that something is.
right. And he emphasizes that this call doesn't always come in some grand sweeping gesture. Sometimes it's a subtle nudge, a whisper in the back of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
urging you to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the unknown.
Right.
And he uses this analogy of the hero's journey, which is this narrative archetype found in myths and stories across cultures.
Oh, like the classic hero's journey.
Right, exactly.
Like Bilbo Baggins.
Exactly. Bilbo Baggins, Harry Potter.
Okay.
They leave their comfortable, ordinary worlds to face challenges
To face challenges.
and ultimately achieve something extraordinary.
And we all resonate with that
Yeah.
because we all have that.
We all have that hero inside of us
Yeah.
waiting for that call.
But it's scary
It is scary.
to answer that call
It is.
and to step out of our comfort zone.
Absolutely. And he acknowledges that fear is a natural part of the process.
Okay.
And he actually encourages us to view fear not as an obstacle, but as a signal that we're on the right track,
Okay.
that we're moving towards something that matters.
So it's not about eliminating the fear, but about moving forward despite it.
Exactly. He compares it to going to the gym. You know, that initial effort might feel uncomfortable or even painful,
Hmm.
but it's through that process of pushing your limits that you grow stronger.
Yeah.
And he says the same applies to our personal growth and our pursuit of meaning.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we figure out what our call is?
Well, he suggests paying attention to what truly fascinates you, those things that spark your curiosity,
Okay.
that make you lose track of time.
Things you enjoy doing.
Right. It could be a hobby, it could be a social cause, a field of study, even a
Mm.
personal challenge you've been putting off.
Okay.
It's about tuning into that inner compass, that sense of what truly matters to you.
So what are some practical steps that we can take to start listening to that call?
Well, his advice is surprisingly simple.
Okay.
He says, start small.
Okay.
Don't get overwhelmed by this grand vision of what your life should be.
Right.
Focus on taking small, actionable steps each day
Mm-hmm.
that align with your interests and values.
So you break down a big goal.
Exactly.
Break it down.
Into smaller chunks.
Yes. Build momentum one step at a time.
Embrace the journey.
Embrace the journey.
Okay.
Knowing there will be detours and setbacks along the way.
This is great. I feel like we're getting a map
Yeah.
to navigate this world
It's like a map.
that's full of negativity and pitfalls,
Yeah, that's-
and also how to find
Mhm.
meaning and fulfillment.
Yeah. And what's so amazing is that journey is unique for every single person.
Yeah.
What matters is that you find what resonates with you, what sparks your passion, what gives you that sense of purpose.
So we've talked about a lot.
We have.
We've talked about online manipulation. We've
Mhm.
talked about being discerning consumers of
Yeah.
information.
Yes.
And we've talked about
Like the call to adventure.
the call to adventure, and we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. There's still so much to unpack, especially Peterson's thoughts on the connection between the sexual revolution and psychopathic men.
Right. And that's going to be,
A very interesting one to dive into.
yes, it's controversial,
Yeah.
but it raises some really important questions about modern relationships and how our society functions.
Definitely. But before we jump into that,
Yeah.
what stands out to you so far?
You know what really struck me is how much Peterson emphasizes personal responsibility.
Okay.
Even in the face of all this manipulation and negativity,
Right.
he empowers people to take ownership of their experiences, their choices,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately their own destinies.
It's not about being a victim.
It's not about being a victim.
It's about being an active participant in your life.
Exactly. It's about shaping your life and shaping the world around you.
So that's a good place to pause
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
And we'll be back to discuss
Yeah.
some more of Peterson's ideas.
More juicy stuff coming up.
Stay tuned
Stay tuned.
for the next part of our deep dive.
So, we were talking about how social media can be like a breeding ground for all this manipulation. And Peterson brings up this really interesting connection to the biblical story of Cain and Abel.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with?
I know it seems like a strange connection, but it's actually
Yeah.
pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So as you remember, Cain and Abel were the first two sons of Adam and Eve.
Right.
Abel was a shepherd. Cain was a farmer.
Okay.
And Abel made sacrifices that were pleasing to God,
Okay.
but Cain's were rejected.
Right.
And Cain became so consumed with jealousy and resentment that he ultimately murdered his brother.
Okay. Yeah. Dark story.
Very dark story.
But I'm still not seeing the connection to
Yeah.
online manipulation.
So Peterson uses this story as a parable
Okay.
for how we deal with success, and particularly the success of others.
Okay.
So Abel represents those who strive for excellence and achieve their goals, while Cain represents those who, instead of learning from their failures,
Mm-hmm.
let envy and bitterness consume them.
So it's like those people we see online who are just constantly tearing others down.
Exactly. Those are the Cains of the digital age.
Okay.
Driven by a sense of inadequacy and resentment, they see others' success as a threat,
Mhm.
and they lash out with negativity and manipulation.
So how do we avoid, that's a
That's
big question, right? How do we avoid falling into that Cain mentality,
Yeah.
especially when we're bombarded with images of success and
Right.
perfection on social media?
It can feel very lonely.
Yeah. And Peterson offers two powerful antidotes,
Okay.
gratitude and humility.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
All right.
So gratitude is about focusing on what we have rather than what we lack.
Okay.
It's about appreciating the good in our lives, no matter how small.
Right. So when you're focused on what you have, you're less likely
It's
to
Exactly.
be envious or compare yourself.
Exactly. You shift your focus to the positive,
Okay.
and then humility.
Okay.
Humility is about acknowledging our limitations and being willing to learn from our mistakes.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
That we can always improve.
So it's being open to growth,
Yes.
even when we fail.
Exactly. When we're humble, we're less likely to see other people's successes as a threat.
Oh,
We can actually view them as inspiration,
okay.
as examples of what's possible.
Those are really great ideas. But how do we actually
Yeah.
put this into practice?
That's the challenge, right? It's
Right.
easy to talk about gratitude and humility,
Yeah.
but actually living them out in our daily lives,
Right.
especially online, that can be tough.
Yeah. So how do we
Okay.
do it?
So Peterson suggests starting small.
Okay.
For gratitude, one simple practice is keeping a gratitude journal.
Yep.
Each day, just take a few moments to write down things you're thankful for.
Like having a roof over your head.
Exactly.
Right.
Food to eat.
Yeah, a warm bed, a good cup of coffee.
You're-
It's about shifting our focus
Yeah.
to the positive.
And for humility.
For humility,
Mm-hmm.
try to cultivate a mindset of curiosity when you face setbacks,
Okay.
instead of beating yourself up for making a mistake.
Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
See challenges as opportunities for growth.
I like that. And you don't have to do it alone.
You don't have to do it alone.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who embody these values.
Yeah.
People who inspire you, people who are grateful and humble.
People who lift you up.
Exactly. Lift you up rather than drag you down.
So our relationships can really affect how we
Absolutely.
deal with all of this.
They have a huge impact on our mindset and our ability to resist negativity.
Speaking of relationships, I wanted to touch on what you mentioned earlier about Peterson's thoughts on the sexual revolution.
Yes.
I know it's a bit controversial, but I'm curious.
It is a little bit controversial.
Did you hear more about that?
Yeah, so Peterson argues that the sexual revolution, while it was very liberating in a lot of ways, has also had some unintended consequences. Specifically, he believes it's contributed to an increase in opportunities for men who favor short-term relationships
Okay.
and who exhibit those dark tetrad traits we were talking about.
So what's the connection there?
Yeah, so he points to research that suggests men who favor casual relationships over committed partnerships
Okay.
tend to score higher on those measures of narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy.
So it's not to say that all men who have
Oh, yeah.
casual relationships.
Doesn't mean that they're all manipulative,
Right.
but it does suggest a correlation.
So in a world where casual relationships are more accepted,
Right.
these personality types might thrive.
Exactly. They have more opportunities.
And is it just the number of relationships?
It's not just the number.
Or is it also?
It's also the dynamics.
Okay.
So Peterson argues that in a more casual dating landscape,
Okay.
there's less incentive for men to develop those traits that are traditionally associated with commitment
Okay.
and long-term partnership.
So like empathy.
Like empathy, responsibility, selflessness, those kinds of things.
So it really makes you think about how societal shifts and cultural norms
It does.
can influence our relationships
Absolutely.
and our behaviors.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And again, it's not about blaming or judging anyone's choices.
Right.
It's about understanding human behavior and how all these different factors can interact
Yeah.
to create certain outcomes.
So really it's about being aware
Yes, being aware.
of these dynamics
Yes.
and making conscious choices.
Exactly. Conscious choices about the kinds of relationships we want.
Yeah.
And recognizing that healthy relationships, whether they're romantic or platonic, require mutual respect, trust, and open communication.
Which are all
Right.
super important.
Yeah, those are the foundations
Yeah.
for a fulfilling life.
No matter what your relationship status.
Exactly.
Okay, so earlier we were talking about how to spot manipulators online.
Mm-hmm.
What about in our personal lives, offline?
Yeah, well, he emphasizes setting boundaries and assertively communicating your needs.
So if somebody's making you feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. You let them know. You let them know. You say, hey, this isn't okay with me.
Okay.
And he also encourages people to be really discerning about who they allow into their inner circle,
Okay.
to prioritize those relationships with people who are honest, respectful, supportive.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Speaking of honesty,
Yes,
Peterson talks a lot about the importance of telling the truth.
he does. He really emphasizes that.
Both to ourselves,
and others.
and to others.
Why is that so important?
He believes that honesty is essential for building trust
Okay.
for fostering those healthy relationships,
Mm.
and ultimately for creating a more just and ethical society.
That seems like a really tall order in today's world.
It does. It's a big challenge.
Yeah, where we're just constantly bombarded with.
Right? With spin, with misinformation, with outright lies.
So how do we even begin to?
Yeah. How do we navigate all that?
Yeah.
Well, Peterson acknowledges the challenges.
But he insists that the pursuit of truth is a worthy endeavor.
Oh, wait.
He suggests starting with ourselves, being honest about our own thoughts, feelings, and motivations.
So that internal honesty.
Yes, that internal honesty.
That alignment.
Yes, making sure that your actions
Yeah.
align with your values.
Okay.
He also encourages us to be very discerning consumers of information.
Question our assumptions.
Question your assumptions, seek out multiple perspectives.
Yeah. Don't just get your news from one source.
Exactly. Diversify your information sources.
Don't just believe what you see on social media.
Right. Be critical. Think for yourself.
Just really being an active participant
Yes, an active participant.
in shaping.
In shaping your own understanding of the world.
Yeah, rather than just passively accepting whatever.
Right. Don't be a passive recipient.
So I'm seeing a connection here between truth-telling
Yeah.
and personal empowerment.
Absolutely. When you're honest with yourself and others, you're less likely to be manipulated or controlled.
So like taking back
It's about reclaiming your agency.
your power.
Yes. Taking ownership of your life.
Okay.
And it's about creating a culture where honesty is valued.
Yeah.
Where it's rewarded rather than punished or dismissed.
So we've touched on so many things.
We have.
We've talked about manipulation, meaning relationships, truth.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's like this big web
Yeah.
of human experience.
What's the most impactful takeaway
For you,
for you so far?
for me, it's that reminder that we're not powerless.
Okay.
Even in the face of all this negativity and manipulation, we have a choice in how we respond, how we engage with the world, and ultimately how we create meaning in our lives.
That's powerful.
It's about taking responsibility for our own well-being,
Yeah.
cultivating healthy relationships, and actively seeking out truth and meaning.
I love that. And I want to hear more about
Yes.
Peterson's thoughts on finding that life more abundant that he talks about.
Yes. Well, we'll delve into that in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore his ideas on personal responsibility, the challenges of modern society, and the importance of finding your own unique path to fulfillment.
I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about a lot of Dr. Jordan Peterson's ideas.
Yeah.
And in this last part, I really want to hear more about his personal journey
Yeah.
and how that shaped his worldview.
Right. Well, it's really interesting. He's very open about his struggles with depression and anxiety. And he actually credits those challenges with giving him a deeper understanding of suffering and the importance of finding meaning in the face of adversity.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Right. Sometimes our greatest challenges can lead to our most profound insights.
Yeah.
And he often talks about the hero's journey, not just in those myths and stories, but in our own lives as well.
Right.
He sees that process of confronting our own inner demons as a kind of heroic quest.
So facing those dark parts of ourselves
Yeah.
is like venturing into the unknown.
Exactly like those heroes in the stories.
Right.
It takes courage.
But we come out stronger.
We come out stronger. We discover our true potential.
And he even talked about how at first he resisted becoming a public figure,
Right.
but then he felt that call
Yeah.
to share his ideas.
It's like he had to step outside of his comfort zone
Right.
to fulfill that purpose.
And that the path to meaning and purpose isn't always easy.
Right. It's not a straight line.
It's not a straight line.
No. There's twists and turns.
Yeah.
Unexpected detours.
And it requires us to
Yeah.
step outside of what we know.
Exactly. Embrace the unknown.
And he sees a parallel between that personal growth
Yeah.
and a sustainable capitalism.
Yeah.
Right.
Or, as he prefers to call it, a system of free exchange.
Free exchange of goods and services.
Yeah.
So how does personal responsibility, how does that play into
Yeah.
economics?
Play into the economics.
Right. So he believes that a healthy society requires individuals
Okay.
who are honest.
Responsible, accountable for their actions.
So that personal ethic
Yes.
translates.
It translates into ethical business practices,
Okay.
fair competition, a system that rewards hard work and innovation.
So it's that culture of integrity.
Yes, exactly. A culture of integrity both at the individual level and the societal level.
And that leads to
Yeah,
a life more abundant.
that's right. A life more abundant.
Okay.
He's actually put these ideas into action with his online platform,
Right.
Peterson Academy,
Okay.
which offers courses on all sorts of topics:
Okay.
psychology, philosophy, literature, history.
Hmm.
And he sees this as a way to democratize education,
Okay.
make knowledge accessible to everyone.
So he's really
Yeah.
putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, he's walking the walk. He's
All right.
not just talking the talk.
And he's also really passionate about AI.
He is. He's very excited about the potential of AI
Yeah.
to further democratize education.
So AI can personalize learning.
Yeah, it can personalize learning. It can provide feedback.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It can make education accessible to people all over the world.
Yeah, regardless of where they live
Exactly.
or their background.
But he also emphasizes that it's really important to develop critical thinking skills,
Okay.
especially in this digital age.
Right, where we're bombarded.
We're bombarded with information from all sides,
Yeah.
so we need to be discerning consumers of information.
Yeah.
We need to question our assumptions,
Hmm.
be aware of our biases.
We can't just believe everything.
We can't just believe everything we read,
We see.
we see, we hear.
We hear.
Yeah, we have to think for ourselves.
And that ties back to
Yeah,
telling the truth.
it does. Honesty is essential.
Not just for ourselves.
Not just for ourselves, but for society as a whole.
Right.
It's about creating that culture
Yeah.
of trust and accountability,
Where people feel safe.
where people feel safe to speak their minds, to engage in open and honest dialogue.
Truth-telling is not always easy,
It can be very uncomfortable,
right?
it can be challenging.
But it's essential.
It takes courage.
It does. It takes courage to challenge our assumptions, to confront those difficult realities,
Mm-hmm.
to stand up for what we believe in, even when it's unpopular.
And Peterson talks a lot about finding your own call to adventure.
He does that inner drive to find meaning and purpose.
And sometimes it's hard to identify what that is.
It can be, especially in a world that feels so chaotic and overwhelming.
Yeah.
But he believes everyone has a unique contribution to make.
Yeah.
He encourages people to explore different paths, to experiment, to be open to new experiences.
To embrace uncertainty.
Yes, embrace uncertainty, be willing to adapt to change.
The path is rarely a straight line.
Rarely a straight line.
So it's really about being flexible,
Being flexible.
resilient,
Resilient.
willing to learn and grow throughout your life.
It's about embracing that journey
Yeah.
with all of its
Yeah.
twists and turns.
and turns.
And trusting that it will
Yeah.
lead you where you need to be. Exactly. And remember, you don't have to have all the answers right now.
Right.
The journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
Yeah.
It's about asking questions, exploring different possibilities, being open to new perspectives.
It's about being courageous and stepping
Stepping outside of your comfort zone.
or inside of your comfort zone into the unknown.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And finding those things that bring you joy, that spark your passion, that make you feel like you're really living a life that matters.
Well, we've covered so much
We have.
in this deep dive into Jordan Peterson's ideas,
It's been a whirlwind.
from the dark side of manipulation
Yeah.
to the importance of truth and integrity, to the power of personal responsibility,
Yes.
and to that inspiring call
Yeah.
to find meaning and purpose.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has, and I hope our listeners have found some new ideas and insights.
I hope so too.
I think so. And as Jordan Peterson himself said, to be open to learning does mean, at least to some degree, always asking, what am I doing wrong? What do I have to give up? What do I have to let go of? What do I have to transform?
That's such a powerful question
It is.
to reflect on.
Yeah.
And a reminder that the journey of growth and self-discovery,
Yeah.
it's never truly over.
It's a lifelong journey.
It is a lifelong journey.
But to our listeners,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, to keep asking those tough questions,
Keep striving.
and to keep striving to live a life
Yeah.
that's true to yourself.
And to the values that you hold dear.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.